Still haven't got a theme song.
It's going to be epic once it arrives.
I was just about to do the Pearl and Dean one, but yeah, so it's copyright. We probably don't want to do that. So welcome to Long Play Video, where we count
Yeah.
down my 100 top movies of all time. We got to 99. We've done one. We
Yes.
got to 99. I feel like that was a bit of a surprise to both of us. Um, but but at 99, we have Juliet Naked.
It's a banger. Yeah.
Came out in 2018. Stars Ethan Hawke, Rose Byrne, Chris O'Dowd. It's directed by Jesse Peretz, and it's
Mm.
adapted from a book from Nick Hornby. It did $5.7 million at the box office on a $6 million budget, so didn't make any money, sadly.
Ouch.
Kevin,
Yeah.
what do you know about this film?
What do I know about this film? I can tell you, I know absolutely zero about this film. I don't think I've ever heard of this film in my life. We got the slight preamble at the end of last episode where you told me Chris O'Dowd was in it, and that immediately made me want to hate the film even more. I'm not looking forward to this one at all, because this is gonna be great news.
Two for two that you haven't seen,
Yeah.
you're not looking forward to. This is a great podcast for
Yeah.
you.
Although to be fair, now that I know it's a Nick Hornby, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a bit more. That's moved it up a little bit. But then the fact that it only made 5.7's not great, is it? It can't have been the most successful box office. Maybe it is more like one of those long play films that it's better as a VHS or a streaming watch.
Yeah, for sure. What's your problem with Chris O'Dowd?
Right, yeah. I was wondering if you were going to ask me about this. Just don't find him funny at all. I just really don't find him funny. And I just find his comedy almost painful and insulting, if I was going to sum it up. So, yeah, I don't know. I've watched him in a couple of things recently, and I was just like, God, I just don't, I really just, yeah, it's just what I mean. Comedy is obviously so subjective. So that I'm sure he's super funny for a lot of people. And obviously, he was in the IT crowd, which was really, a lot of people loved, and I didn't really get that. But yeah, it's just not my cup of tea. And I was thinking, oh God, I wonder how long this film goes on for and how much is he in it.
Well, I mean, he is in it, a fair amount, but I think
Hmm.
that you're actually gonna like it because
Yeah,
he's not the hero. Let's just say that. So
yeah. Okay,
I don't
we'll
think
see then.
you should be put off by it. And you say about Nick Hornby. So obviously,
Hmm.
other films, High Fidelity, About a Boy, Fever Pitch,
Yeah,
like those films.
yeah. I mean, I'd read a couple of the Nick Hornby books, and I'm surprised actually you didn't have High Fidelity on here rather than Juliet Naked. I mean, obviously I haven't seen this film, so I don't know. But I thought High Fidelity might have creeping into this list. Is there a reason why this one would make it onto your list more than the others?
Well, in actual fact, it's good research that you haven't looked at the list. High Fidelity does is on the list
Oh,
at a
I thought,
significantly lower number because
yeah,
I would say that High Fidelity is definitely a favorite. But it has a lot of the same themes as well because I think it's
yeah,
but for me this film is about where people put their attention and the fact that they might focus on things that they shouldn't focus on
yeah,
and kind of I think that's definitely I mean the same with Fever Pitch as well, like where it's football, High Fidelity, where it's kind of looking at the past, even About a Boy to a certain extent, which I'm not a big fan of About a Boy, has to be said. I think
yeah,
it was a bit of the novelty of
yeah,
Hugh Grant just not being very nice, which
yeah.
obviously now we've seen 1,000 times. So
And that, yeah, he's perfected it now. Now he's great.
but yeah, so my first watch, I actually
Yeah.
watched this on a plane for the first time, flying to Vegas. I realized
Oh,
that these two
can we just
films.
stop? Yeah, let's just stop there immediately. All of these 100s basically chosen on your amazing jet setting lifestyle.
Well, this was I was flying over for a work event, which might make it better, might make it worse. But that's
Yeah.
it's my life is not that glamorous. I just happen to be married to an
Yeah.
American and work for American companies a lot of the time.
Let's just wait and see until we get to the final film, number one, and we'll go back and count them all the times and see how many you jet setted and how lavish your lifestyle is.
That's some of the data that we should crunch is
Yeah,
places and is watch these films for the first
yeah.
time. Uh,
Exotic locations. Yeah,
yeah, which takes us then to the data that we kind of put together, and the fact that I in my estimation, I only had
yeah.
two rom-coms on the list. Uh,
Definitely not. No.
yeah, and then after doing a bit of research, I was like, well, that's
Yeah,
on the list. That's on the list. That's on the list.
yeah.
I mean,
I
Groundhog
think that's
Day,
the
is that a
thing.
rom-com? That's not a rom-com in my estimation, but I guess it is.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. When I sort of summarize them into sort of more general genres, it's a lot of them were comedy or like that, like you said, romance slash rom com. So it's hard, you're right. Does Groundhog Day, is it more comedy than rom com? It's a difficult one, isn't it? But all of those, that they are your key genres, that sort of comedy slash romance slash rom com, which is great news because rom coms are completely outdated now. So that's good to see you're on. Okay. You're on top of your game.
Well, finally, so this actually opened in 2018, and Crazy Rich Asians was number one at the box office. So another rom-com, and another
Yeah.
rom-com that has sort of something else at its heart, but has the
Yeah.
kind of comedy and the romance. So I feel like
Mm.
it's these films just about life, man. Well,
Oh, look at this. Here we
they
go.
have comedy,
We're
they
gonna
have
get a Jerry
romance.
Springer moment. We're gonna get Jerry Springer moment at the end of every episode now.
And now here's your son. He's coming out. No, but I think I
Yeah.
watched it on the plane. I love sort of
Yeah.
finding these. This is like a plane movie. This is a movie that you would have watched on TV, and you would have done that great thing where you would have sort of caught it maybe halfway through, and then you would have had to wait it until the next time it was on TV, the next time it was on Sky or
Yeah.
whatever, and then you would have watched it three-quarters of the way through, and then you'd have to
Yeah.
watch it like 4 or 5 times before you actually saw the first 10 minutes because you're just kind of flipping through the channels. And
Yeah.
I miss that. I think that was the great way how I discovered so many films was just
Yeah.
like flipping through the channels and then watching like 10 minutes of it, 15 minutes of it. And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
would have had legs for sure. The video store, the like home entertainment. I think this would
Yeah.
have actually really, really picked up because I watched it on the plane. It was actually my favorite non-cinema film of 2019. Ad
Yeah.
Astra was my favorite film watched at the cinema. So two very, very different films.
Yes. Very
Um,
different. Yeah.
but this was definitely just one of those films that it is funny. It does have depth to it. It has some
Yeah.
things to say. It's about kind of the
Yeah.
things that you identify with, and like how you build your own identity around things that really you shouldn't. And
Yeah.
obviously, we've got football films coming up, which is another example of that. But there's a great
Yeah.
there's a great moment because it's all ostensibly it's about Chris O'Dowd is obsessed with a rock star that released one album, and then was
Yeah.
never heard again, and he's talking to someone who's sort of new to like knowing who this artist is. And they say, oh, he's actually good looking, and Chris O'Dowd says, oh, thanks. as though like he
Yeah.
owns
Brilliant.
him somehow,
Yeah.
and that like it justifies his focus on it. So
Yeah. He's crazy obsession of it.
yeah. So from that point of view, it is. I mean, it was only a few years ago, although obviously it was pre first COVID, so it feels like 20 years ago in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
True.
I actually
Yeah.
also think it will really stand up to being like pre and post COVID because
Mm.
it is also about kind of where you find yourself kind of stuck in a certain life that you perhaps don't want to, and should you move on, should you it's set in
Yeah.
a small village, so it's kind of like do you leave what you know and try something new, which I think was something that a lot of people were kind of grappling with through COVID, and then
Yeah.
everyone moved out, and then officers said no, actually you have
Yeah.
to be back in the office, and they all had to move back again. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? I mean, yeah. Our views on COVID and the pre-post world is for our next podcast. But so last week's when we were talking about the artist, you had a glamorous location that you were viewing it on the first time, and then your second viewing of it, you'll be viewing it again for the podcast, was going to be on a train up to Leeds. Some might argue less glamorous. So what is the plan for viewing this? Have we got any glamour set up? Are you gonna recreate Vegas in your house?
Maybe recreate the plane seat in my house. I
Oh
have the
yeah.
DVD, so
Okay, here we go then.
I
Good.
will be putting in the DVD. I will be watching it. Yeah, from the sofa, the way it was made to be watched. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember most of it is only a few years ago. My memory's not that bad. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so I am looking forward to it. There's a lot of very funny parts in it, and I think there's a subtlety
Yeah.
to some of the humor. I mean, it's Ethan Hawke, yeah, sort of not
Yeah.
playing how you would expect him to play it. I think obviously he's got so much sort of identity with the romance, with the kind of before sunset, after sunset, sunrise,
Yeah.
all of those films, but he doesn't go anywhere near those. And I
Yeah.
think it is also like a very Gen X
Yeah.
movie. I think it talks more to the Gen X kind of generation than anything else. Um,
Yeah.
just as far as I mean, Ethan Hawke as sort of playing the 90s star, and I think it speaks to that. That time where people
Yeah.
again were kind of obsessed with things that weren't particularly important, but that's kind of where this obsession came from.
Yeah. All right, cool. So it's going to be a nice at home DVD in the player. Sitting at home, Tiff comes in and sees you crying on the sofa again, watching another rom-com. So that's good news. So since you watched it in the glamour location of Vegas, have you watched it since then? Obviously, this is 2018, so it's not quite as old. So I guess you may not have seen it again, but have you seen it since you first watched it?
No, this will be my second watch. I don't rewatch films as much as I used to. I think I don't know why that
So
is.
much
Like,
content. There's too much
yeah,
content, I think, isn't there now? Like and it's so hard to locate, I think, films that you've already seen. You're like, oh, what should I watch? And then Amazon or Disney say, oh, no, I've got this great idea. You should watch this. And you're like, okay, yeah, great. I will. I'll try it. And then you
another
completely forget
superhero. Yeah, a
about,
superhero in a different situation. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
yeah. Oh, a superhero now in a TV series. I'm in. Go. Yeah.
Well, and
So,
this is kind of
yeah.
why I had put my DVD collection together, which obviously I get mocked for mercilessly, maybe correctly, but
Yes.
yeah, because
Definitely correctly.
if Amazon or Netflix don't just decide that they don't want you to watch a film, then you
Yeah.
can't watch a film. And I resent that. I mean, I think it's the height of just comedy that
Yeah.
Amazon has a loan and a buy button. When you're like, yeah, but if I buy
Yeah.
it and then I stop using Amazon, I don't own it. So I'm
Yeah.
always just loaning it from Amazon. One of them's loaning it
Yeah.
multiple times, and one of them's actually just loaning it once.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, it's a different dynamic. I wonder, I mean, obviously there was such a big change in technology from VHS, then DVDs, Blu-rays, and then it's obviously moved to streaming pretty quickly. I wonder what will happen if the studios will just own all of their catalog and you just literally rent it from them and store it in your cloud or something. I don't know. It'll be, who knows, or it just gets injected into your eyeball somehow and you can just watch it whenever you want.
I mean, it's always subscription, isn't it? So everyone just wants a subscription. So they don't want you to own
Yeah,
anything because otherwise you just own it and there's no, it
yeah,
won't break. A film won't break. So you'll
yeah.
only ever buy it once. They want you to pay for it kind of time and time again, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. All right, then. So now it's 99. So why has it made it onto the illustrious 100 list?
When I watched it and what I remember of it, it was funny. It was sweet. There was a sweetness to it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to deny that. Um,
Yeah,
I think the kind of the added depth to it about identity. I think it says something about the art and artists and kind of how much you own that. I think around the same time, and maybe even because of the film, I was listening to an interview with Neil Gaiman, and
mm,
he was talking about the fact that at some book signing, someone had come up to him and sort of explained, like, and sort of said, "Oh, I get all of the references in your books. You mean this and you mean that, and you're referencing that." And Neil Gaiman was like,
yeah.
"No, no, I no, I didn't. I wasn't actually." And this guy was like,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah,
get
well,
it,
you're
I
playing
get
me.
it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's just
You're
sort of, yeah,
pretending that I'm not really clever.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah. And I think it is one of those things. I think with art, with music, with lots of things, you almost kind of like if you should, if you want to become an artist, you should then also make friends with like one critic and do whatever you want to
mm,
do, and then that critic just be like, wow, that's amazing. And then
yeah,
that will make everyone else think that you're amazing, because it isn't just about what you create. It's also about someone like, yeah, connecting to it and then saying that it's great, and then everyone kind of, yeah, kind of coming in on top
yeah,
of it. So yeah, I think it's some interesting there. And then I think as far as films that could replace it, I mean, we'll save that on for after the watch. But I do think a lot of the rom-coms that
yeah,
we grew up with just don't kind of stand up. Funnily enough, I
yeah,
did, when I was putting the list together, I watched Notting Hill again, which is probably my favorite sort of traditional rom-com.
yeah.
And yeah, it just doesn't stand up. Like, she's really
No.
just evil
Oh,
and not very nice at all. He
yeah.
just doesn't have anything, like, he has no discernible
He's
characteristic
so, yeah,
about
he's
him.
really wet, isn't he? And he's just
Yeah,
literally, it's like he barely can exist in life. It's like he's just about scraping by without dying.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
mad.
And it's that cliche of like, yeah, having a group of friends and that being nice, because everyone's like, no, wouldn't it be nice to just have a group of friends that you can go for dinner with all the time
Yeah,
and who are fixing you up
yeah.
on dates?
Is this the sad state of affairs that when we look back at all these comedies, like Friends is the same sort of thing? Like, oh, wouldn't it be great if you just go down to the coffee shop and do with your friends every
Yeah,
day?
you just
And we're
knew
like, oh,
people.
yeah, exactly. We just went through this era where we started not knowing anyone, and slowly your friends just dissipate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
crazy.
before people have kids and partners that then you don't like or you do like, and then it causes causes more problems. So, and then yeah, sort of other top rom-coms. Yeah, I when Harry Met Sally is obviously at the top of the list for most people. I was never a massive
Yeah,
fan of that film.
yeah,
You know, Pretty Woman, I think I really liked sort of back in the 90s, but I kind of realized it was
yeah,
problematic pretty early on.
yeah,
Sort of before it actually is obviously really problematic. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it was, again, you know, sort of 90 to 100, 80 to 100 are kind of films that just, when you watch them, you really enjoyed them. Yeah, I
yeah,
do think that it's a level above, yeah, kind of other ones. It's something that, yeah,
yeah,
not funny, sweet. I think that, yeah, it just has a lot to it, um,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I
And I
which
think
I
you're right. Like
remember enjoying.
those sort of rom-coms that you're mentioning, like it is difficult because yeah, I think you're right. If you look back at them now, and you're like, oh, they don't stack up, or they will just never get made now. Or you just, there's so much more worldliness around, everyone. There's a lot, still plenty of ignorance, I'm sure, but hopefully, people are moving in the right direction. But it's, obviously these films did have a time and a place, in the era that they were made, and
Yeah,
I guess they were there to be enjoyed at the time, and it was a form of entertainment, and they were there to be enjoyed. Yeah, while obviously we need to make sure that we realise that a lot of these films maybe are not appropriate now. We need to appreciate that. Okay, yeah, just there was no malice intended when they were made. It
oh
was
yeah,
just
for sure.
ignorance of
I think it just dates us.
people.
I think when we say, oh,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
like Notting Hill, this is a really good film, and I can see, yeah, I can see kids today
yeah,
just all growing up and being like, it's not a good film. What are you
yeah,
talking about?
yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting actually because I was saying to you that I'm trying to sort of pull together my top 100. So when I get that done, I'll be interested to see how many rom-coms are on my list. Because I'm not, I don't really like Hugh Grant either. Is this turning into a which actors does Kev hate? Yeah, because we were spoken about Tom Hanks as well. So
I mean,
um,
that's an Easter egg. That's a spoiler for later.
yeah,
We
that
won't
is a
even
big
talk
one.
about
Yeah,
that now.
yeah, that's going to be a long episode. Prepare yourself. Um, But yeah, I'll be interested to see what mine ends up like. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there were some really good characters that operated in those sort of scenes, and Hugh Grant obviously did find his niche. And I'll be interested to see, like you said, Ethan Hawke again. He was one of those ones that did do a few sort of rom-coms. So I'll be interested to see what he's like. Like you said, is he different in this film? So I'll be interested to see how that goes. And normally on a Nick Hornby film, I'd imagine it to be a little bit of a different type of rom-com than the normal one.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, yeah, there's no denying that Ethan Hawke is just yeah, sort of magnetic, and he has film
Mm,
presence, which I think yeah, just has had throughout his career. So he definitely brings
yeah,
that. I mean, which he has to, because yeah, he's obviously sort of a star in it. So yeah,
yeah,
I know I will enjoy it. I'm not sure whether you'll
yeah.
enjoy it, but yeah, I'm
We'll see.
unlike The Artist, which obviously was yeah 10 years ago, and I kind of yeah remember it being good, but don't remember exactly this. Yeah, I'm happy with this on the list in the
Yeah.
90s.
Oh, look
It's
at it.
been
Yeah.
pushed around a little bit. I think it was sort of started lower, and then it kind of yeah got a bit higher. But yeah, I'm happy
Yeah.
with where it is. It's a good film. It's sweet. It's funny. And yeah, it made me think of it. Yeah, just sort of yeah made me think about a few things, which yeah I thought was good.
And then in terms of the actual films or anything, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's not too old. So even though we're quite old and our brains don't work as well, you can still remember a lot of this one. So is there anything you're specifically looking forward to seeing that you remember?
Yeah, the beach scene is just a hilarious scene.
Yeah.
That yeah, and again, sort of no spoilers within it, but I would say yeah, when just the entire sort of setup and then the actual scene. It's not a very long scene as well, but yeah, just watch Rose Byrne, because
Yeah.
it's pure reaction to like
Yeah.
what she knows is going to happen, what happens, and then after it happens. And yeah, she is really really good in it. She's sort of one of those great kind of scenes where she doesn't have to say anything. It is like pure acting, but just
Yeah.
the way that she's
Yeah.
reacting to everything is really funny.
All right, I'll look out for that. That sounds good. And yeah, is there anything you're worried about? Anything you're specifically worried about, like might not hold up now, or anything you just think, oh, that's gonna be a bit cringy?
Yeah, I think the only thing I seem to remember that it did sort of play off a bit of the sort of US UK culture shock thing, because it's
Yeah,
small town in UK, and the sort
yeah.
of yeah big city man from the US. I don't think that it was. I don't remember it being that bad, but I was going on a plane to Vegas, so yeah, that would be the only
Yeah,
thing that yeah hopefully isn't yeah they don't overplay that. Um,
yeah. All right. And any specific quotes that you remember from the film?
I mean, yeah, that thank you line is a classic. And then there is one. I don't remember the quote exactly, which annoys me a little bit. And I was tempted to look it up, but I didn't, because that would be dishonest. But
Yes.
when yeah, there's a quote about the status of Chris O'Dowd's relationship with someone, which is just yeah, which is great, just a good line. So we can talk about that after you've watched it.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably have very significant things to say about all Chris O'Dowd's lines, so that will be great. Oh, good. No, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's quite interesting that it's rare you go into a film these days and actually know nothing about it. So it's actually been quite interesting. So I always remember Cole talking about Terminator 2 when he didn't see the trailer, and then you didn't, because obviously Terminator 1, obviously Arnie's the bad guy, and then in Terminator 2 you have no idea that he's the good guy if you haven't seen the trailer.
Yeah.
And so it changes the beginning of the film. So yeah, who knows? Now that I know so little about this, maybe this might make it, super interesting.
Yeah, and
We'll see. Yeah.
this is why it's a video shop like find, right? Because that's the thing. You would just be
Yeah,
flicking
yeah,
through the DVDs or the videos in the shop, and
yeah,
you'd find something, and Ethan Hawke, okay, yeah, maybe I'll get it,
yeah,
and then Nick Hornby, and yeah, and you'd pick it up and rent it, and then
yeah,
yeah, like that's
yeah,
discovering sort of films organically, and doing that is what I like. So
yeah. And then you'd be like, right, this one was terrible. I'm deliberately not rewinding this one. I'm just going to put it in the case and take it back.
They're gonna have to use up their own time.
Yeah, exactly. This is my little Amazon view before Amazon existed.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Sit back,
yeah,
put the DVD in and enjoy.
yeah,
We'll come back to it.
yeah. Sounds good. I think I'd have to say truly terrible. That is my summation of this movie. While watching it, I honestly was sitting there thinking, I cannot believe you've made me watch this movie. I can't see any redeeming features in it.
So not in your top 100 then.
I was honestly after I watched The Artist, and I was thinking, oh, that actually, that was a good film. There were some good bits, and I can see how people would really like it, and I didn't mind it. This, I was just like, this is awful. I mean, I almost went out and started burning Nick Hornby books. It was that bad. But yeah, this definitely wasn't for me. I don't want to destroy your 100 list, but this was nowhere near my top 100. That's for sure.
No, that's fair enough. It's all opinion. So having
Yeah,
watched it again, I think the thing that struck me actually, and the reason why I liked it and it affected me, especially on the plane to Vegas, is I
yeah,
think it's because it's about the kids. It's not actually a
yeah,
rom-com. Kind of on second viewing, it turns almost when he has the heart attack. And they're
yeah,
on the phone, and she says, "Is Jackson okay?" Who's obviously his son.
yeah. The sound.
Like that. That's then I think where the film almost pivots away from the kind of the rom-com and like their relationship, and much more
Yeah,
into it's about Ethan Hawke and him trying to be a father and kind of her struggles with not having kids. And there's a
yeah,
great line where when they're on the phone and he says, "I just can't get back to zero." And it's like
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing with the kids is that
yeah,
like he always has to, he hasn't been there, and yet like when you are a parent, you always have to be there, and you always have to be a
yeah,
parent, which is why like obviously they don't have sex because Jackson throws up on himself, and then they have to
yeah,
clear that up. And
yeah,
also even when like the last time that they see each other, before then they see each other like right at the end, like he's
yeah,
standing there, which I think is a really good scene. He's standing there like with his
yeah,
granddaughter, I think, in his arms, and Jackson,
yeah,
and she's like, right, I'm just gonna go, and you can see that he's really
yeah. He's
like
torn.
don't go. I would like want to talk about this. I want to do something, but then he's trying to be a good
Yeah,
father for the first time,
yeah,
because that's kind of what his aim is at.
yeah,
So then he can't go, and I think he does really well. It's like a really sort of longing look of like
yeah.
I can't
I want
I can't
both.
do both. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
can't do
yeah.
it.
I was going to say, do you think then that this means that this film is an advert to not have kids? Is this like this is what happens?
Well, I think the problem is that she has a kid, and it's Chris O'Dowd,
Oh God,
and
yeah.
he's
I
just
mean, we'll get on to
a
him
man
soon.
child that she has to look after. But that's the thing with Ethan Hawke, as he says, like he's trying to do it. He's trying to do it better with Jackson because he's had the mistakes before.
Yeah,
Like the twins
yeah,
are a bit random, who just kind of turn up and don't say anything in the hospital room.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
but yeah, I think that was what struck me on the rewatch was
Mm.
was the fact that it felt more about parenting than it does
Yeah,
about kind of their romance. I would say there were a
yeah,
few weaker parts in the film that I didn't that I didn't remember. I mean, the sister
yeah,
is just a bizarre character. Obviously, they use for the first like 20
yeah.
minutes, and they're like, yeah, we won't bother with that character anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
that was weird, isn't it? Like she's in it, and I'm like, oh, actually, she's a bit of light relief. I like it, and then like just not in it again until like the last 2 minutes or something. It's like, where did she go? What happened?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the dancing people in the pub, I presume that's in the book because it's
Oh
just so
God, yeah,
random that this
yeah.
guy, and again, it's sort of there's no callback to it. There's just like,
No.
okay, I'm dancing, you come and dance. Obviously, in the village, there's just people with very strange hobbies. They take over the pub.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah.
This is an interesting thing that I worked out. I was watching the film. I was like, this looks a little bit familiar. And I was like, no, it can't be. And then I was waiting, watching a bit more, and and I was like, oh, I definitely know this place. So this was filmed where my mum and dad currently live.
Oh
So
no.
I was
Wow.
like, wow, this is amazing. So yeah, it was filmed in sort of Broadstairs and Ramsgate, which is where they live. So I recognise some of the pubs and stuff that they went into, having just frequented them last year. So I was like, well, look, there's some saving grace in this film then at least. So
I get to reminisce where my parents live. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
well, that's nice.
Yeah.
I couple of questions that did come up. How
Yeah.
long do you stay on a date if the other person doesn't show up? She stays at
Oh,
the tape for a very long time, and I
oh
always
my
thought it was
gosh.
like
Yeah.
a 15-minute thing that like it was the same at school, wasn't it? If the teacher doesn't turn up for like the first 15 minutes, then you were just allowed to
Yeah.
leave. Like that was the urban
Yeah.
legend. You could just walk
Yeah.
out.
Off you go. Yeah. Yeah, that's true, actually. That's a good point. She stays there for ages. And then definitely when they phone back, you wouldn't answer. You'd be like, maybe, a day or two, you'd maybe answer. But and
Yeah.
then when they said heart attack, you'd be like, yeah, all right, of course you've had a heart attack. Yeah, me too. Yeah. But yeah.
And then is there a difference between the mental affair she's having and then the physical one that he has? Because she's clearly like she's in a relationship with
Yeah.
him, right, over email and stuff.
Yeah, I did think that there was some of the things that I sort of struggled a little bit with. But I thought this was one of the things I thought. Obviously, we won't delve too much into Chris O'Dowd, but I thought, oh, his character's name's Duncan. I was like, of course it's called Duncan. Why would Chris O'Dowd's character not be called Duncan?
Why?
Um,
What's up with Duncan? Why would it
just
be?
sounds not to annoy anyone that's called Duncan, but it just sounds plain and just it's exactly what I expect Chris O'Dowd to be called. Oh yeah, I'm playing this guy called Duncan. I was like, oh, Duncan sounds interesting. No, he's not. Um, but then the thing was the way they set him up. I mean, I guess you have to sort of suspend belief in movies, but the way they set him up, I'm like, there's no way this guy that his character that he would just have an affair. It's just the way they set him up is just that it would never happen. And then it does get a bit weird where he then has the affair, and then I guess it's a small town, but they're still seeing each other and talking to each other. It's like that would definitely not happen. You wouldn't have an affair, and then your ex would be like, "Oh, hey, yeah, hey, how you doing?" Yeah, you'd be like, "No way." You'd be like, "Get away from me." But
Well,
but
I
yeah, I
love the
guess
setup with him. I love the setup with him that he's introduced as coming over and teaching American film and the alienated male, which like
yeah,
instantly is just like I don't like this guy. And then when he's
yeah.
giving out the glossary for The Wire for his
Oh my
seminar, you're like
god,
you're really setting him up for us
yeah.
to hate him.
Yes, yeah, and they did well. I did hate it. So it was yeah, it was a strange one, I think. I think you're right. When you look back and you pull it out, you go, okay, there's more a story about almost like kids, and I thought it was about, I sort of I put this down, but I don't mean this exactly, but I put, yeah, both having kids and not having kids is a nightmare.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. I think that's
but
yeah.
yeah, and I think that's the thing, as you said, that is it's showing you more the dynamics of the challenges if in modern life, right? Modern life now that a lot of people don't have kids, and it can get challenging from a mental perspective of whether you think you should have done. Whether people do have kids, and then you have different family dynamics now. It's not necessarily just the mum and dad stays together. It all
Yeah.
changes. So I guess from that point of view, it's pretty modern. It's a shame that they wrapped around some horrific romantic comedy around the side of it. So,
Well, as Duncan
yeah,
says, modern civilization is clearly going to the dogs, with the exception of TV. I love
yeah,
that as a line.
yeah, yeah. That was actually quite a good line.
I also love the fact that when she writes the review on the website, she's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you're going to block me," and he's like, "Well, actually, that's against the rules of the site."
yeah,
So even
yeah,
in like his domain, he's not in
yeah,
charge.
yeah. I can't even do it if I wanted to. Yeah, I did think that was quite one of the things I thought about. Obviously, there are some plot holes, but I was like, if Ethan Hawke's character just really doesn't care about writing music or who he used to be, why on earth is he sitting there and just stalking the chat rooms where people are just talking about him? Like,
Yeah,
I
but
guess they
ego.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. Yeah, because that's the thing, they try and set him up as this person who's just, yeah, I had my moment, it's gone, I'm not fussed about it. But you're right, really, he must still have some of the ego, because why on earth would you still be checking those chat rooms?
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, and I do
yeah,
like, and the beach scene still makes me laugh.
yeah,
There's such a
yeah,
glint in Ethan Hawke's eye when he introduces himself to Duncan.
yeah,
Again, I just think just great acting. And then well, first of all, when Chris and Dad's like, "Oh, she's seen me," and it's clear that she hasn't
yeah.
seen him at
No,
all.
not even looking at him in the
And
right
he's like,
direction.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to go over and say because otherwise it's gonna be awkward. And so he
yeah.
goes over, and then she's just like, shit, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah,
And
this is the
then
problem. That's
he
the weird
introduces
thing.
himself. It's so funny.
Yeah, he was really good. But I think that's the funny thing, isn't it? Like Duncan had the affair, and yet she's like feeling awkward because obviously, yeah, she knows she's got his like weird idol slash, I don't know, obsession. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
Well,
bit
because
strange.
even when he tells her about the affair, he
Yeah.
says, "Is there any way back for me? Because right now that's what I'm thinking." It's just such a funny way to phrase it. Just like, yeah, I think actually, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure that I want to go that way. And obviously, yeah, the person he has the affair with just seems like a nightmare. So
Yeah, exactly. And it is quite funny. Like the way they set his character up, I think, yeah, just I don't know. It could have been more interesting, but yeah, like you said, really the film's more around the family dynamics, really more so than their relationship. But
yeah, even when
oh
he calls Grace and she's like, "Well, I already have a father," and he's like, "Right. Just so we're
yeah,
clear, do you
yeah, yeah,
mean
yeah,
like?" And
yeah,
he just doesn't get it, and he's just like, "Yeah, but no, but I am your father." But like,
yeah, yeah.
what do you mean? So
And she's just
yeah,
like, "Stay away from me. I don't want to hear you. You
yeah,
left me in a sink.
yeah,
I don't want to talk to you again." Yeah, it was quite interesting. I was thinking about, like, I know we're talking about, how would we describe this? Like, if we were going to describe this plot to an alien in 30 words
yeah.
or less. I had a good idea that I put together. Did you have anything on that?
Yeah, I had a musician with lots of kids has a heart attack and invites himself to the seaside.
Oh wow, that actually sounds quite pleasant. Actually,
Well, I like
this
the
is
movie.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I didn't go completely. I could have gone worse, but I put an aged musician gets together with his former girlfriend of his number one stalker. So
Nice, nice.
that was
I
my
think an alien will be popping that into the DVD player. If you,
yeah, exactly. And then immediately hating it and then coming and killing me. Um,
I would say
uh,
on the rewatch there was just a couple of things that I noticed that I didn't notice on the first
hmm,
time. The first, he leaves all of his prized possessions in their house, at
yeah,
the house of the woman that he's just cheated on. I think that's a
yeah,
bold move. I think
yeah.
that's very
That would get
trusting, in
burnt.
my
Yeah.
opinion. That
Yeah, and
would
he's
go
like worried that
outside
they're
in the
getting
rain.
ready. Yeah, exactly. Like it's only a bit, and it's UK rain as well. It's just drizzle, so you're like, yeah,
Yeah,
this stuff's gonna be fine.
it will
Yeah,
just
that's a good point.
permeate. And then also
Yeah,
when Tucker first emails her, she's posted as Relic Master. At what point does he know that it's a woman who's posted? Because to begin with, surely he doesn't know that it's a woman. So he's just flirting with
yeah,
this internet profile of Relic Master.
yeah. That's a good
You know,
point. Yeah, how does he know? Well, I don't know. Maybe he's in modern world. He didn't care. Who knows? That's a
did
good
you
point.
turn off the movie as soon as the credits rolled? Did you see the post credit scene?
Oh no, I can't believe there was one, and I've now missed it, and I'm probably gonna have to go back and fast forward to this now.
So yeah, there is a post
Oh,
credit scene which is Duncan like doing something for his website where he's talking about that Tucker has a new album out and it
oh yeah,
shows like the track listing, one of which is Water for the Plumber, because obviously from the
yeah,
line about art isn't for the artist any more than water is for the plumber.
yeah.
And he says, oh, this album's not very good. It's because he's found love and he's a stepdad. So kind of like it sort of it gives you a view of the day after.
Yeah,
Um,
what's actually happened? Well,
yeah.
I'm glad I didn't see that. Actually, that sounds like that have made me hate this film more.
Well, it's funnily enough, as the film starts with him like doing his interview for his website, it did make me just have a small moment of like, is that what we're doing on this podcast? Are we going to sound like him doing his intro for his website? And then I was like, no, don't worry about
Yeah.
it. Just it'll be fine.
Don't go there. Don't think about that. We're not Duncans. Yeah.
And then, so what life lesson did you take from the movie apart from don't listen to Andy's taste in movies?
Oh, honestly, I wrote down here. One of my notes was 15 minutes in. So far, I'm hating this movie. That was like, and that was just because I was like, I've got to write something, because at the moment I've written nothing other than is Chris O'Dowd the Irish Hugh Grant? That was the other thing I thought of, the bumbling Irishman. No, I think the key life lesson for me was the thing about, like I said, about the both having kids and not having kids. It is a challenge. I've obviously put nightmare, but yeah, for jokes. But yeah, especially as you get older, the thought, obviously, if you've had kids, a lot of your life revolves around kids, and then if you don't have kids, do you start thinking, oh, maybe I should have had kids or whatever, and you get into the different family dynamics. So yeah, I think that was the life lesson for me. And pray and hope there are no more Chris O'Dowd films on your list. Otherwise, I might be ill that week.
I don't think he features that strongly. I wouldn't even be able to tell you other Chris O'Dowd movies, I think. I just had never meet someone who thinks you're their hero as a twist on the never meet the people that are your hero. I think if anyone thinks that you're their hero, you probably just want to leave that out there. You're only going to disappoint.
Weird. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what about then? If you could change this into a different genre, did you have any thoughts on that? What you'd change this film into, and like how that could work out?
I mean, I think it could be easily a horror. It could easily be a horror movie.
This is exactly what I went for. I was like, horror thriller, and I was like, how do we basically set up so Duncan's killed immediately? And I was like, but on the flip side, he could also be like Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo, couldn't he? And he could be like the crazy stalker of Ethan Hawke.
I mean, I think if it was like someone from his class who murdered him, and then obviously Tucker Crow's there, you've got the ex-girlfriend who's now like having to explain that dynamic to the police after he's been murdered, I think would be an interesting challenge. Well, I'm now dating his hero that he met and was really annoyed about.
That would be great. He would just be sitting in that room as they come to interview him, and it would just be Ethan Hawke sitting there with all the memorabilia of him around the room. And you're just like, have you got some issues? Should we be worried about this? Yeah, that's so funny though. I thought horror as well. I was like, this could definitely work as a horror, just because I think the characters and stuff, and obviously it's sort of a little bit of hero worship / stalking going on, so it didn't feel like it could hit into that genre quite nicely.
Yeah, I think it would be quite easy to turn it into one. Was there a character that you would that you'd most like to be?
Well, originally I thought, maybe the kid, but then I definitely thought, no, 100% the sister. Definitely, the sister was the comedy girl that I loved, and it was just ridiculous one-liners that didn't really make any sense, didn't really fit with the movie, but I loved it. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I had to go with Jackson. He seems to be living his best life, as a lot of kids do. And sometimes I used to just throw up on the sofa as well. So
he looked like, what is he, like 10 or something? And he's like, he's already like well ahead of himself. He's basically like looking after his dad. It's just like he's already well set. We can see he's going to be the next like Zuckerberg or something. It'll be great. But yeah, he was my first choice, I must admit. And then I thought the sister would be funny.
He'll be like About a Boy, right? He won't ever have to work a day in his life because his dad writes some songs that he still gets royalty checks with. Maybe it's the same universe, like the Nick Hornby universe, all the films interact, and he's actually Hugh Grant as a child.
Oh my god! And then and there's a point where Chris O'Dowd and Hugh Grant actually meet each other, and there's just a scene of just bumbling idiots, and we're like, how do we close out this scene? We can't get out of it. We're in a loop.
A black hole is created as they meet each other, and the world gets pulled into boredom.
Yes, exactly.
Did you have a favorite line did you was there something that you remember from it?
I wouldn't say there was something I remember from it other than pain, but no, there's no real favorite lines for me as such. As I'd say, I think obviously as it was filmed, a lot of it in my parents' sort of hometown, that was quite nice. Have a favorite sort of reminiscing, but yeah, I wouldn't say there's any favorite lines for me. What about you?
So the line I couldn't remember from before the break is when she says, "Who are you sleeping with?" and he says, "I wouldn't use the present continuous." I think that's just such a stupid
Uh,
nitpick
yeah.
of him. I think when he's criticizing her article and he says everyone's allowed their own opinion, however unnuanced. I think that sort of is another line where you just hate him because that's just such a good dig.
Yeah, yeah, there was some, the good, like you said, there are some good lines in it. I guess yeah, you knew if you coming from it from a nice, and you're rewatching it as well, right? So
Yeah,
you're looking out for these, whereas I was like trying to navigate the first viewing of it.
the
But yeah,
boredom. I think at the end as
yeah,
well, when she says you don't even like kids, you think they're boring, and he says, "Well, I've never met mine. I'm sure they'll be far more interesting than other people's." Obviously,
yeah,
it sort of sits with his arrogance, but also your kid is
yeah,
infinitely more interesting than other people's kids. Like
yeah, yeah. That would be
that
the
is
thing.
just true.
Yeah, that's interesting. That yeah, that was mad when he's just like, yeah, I'm ready to have kids now, and you're like, what? And like when yeah, she's like, but you've never wanted kids. Like, yeah, but I do now. It's like he definitely doesn't want kids. He's got no idea what he's doing. He's met his idol, which his entire life was like revolved around, and now he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
bad.
she says that, doesn't she? She says like, "Oh, it's
Mhm.
just got anything to do with your idol meeting me and
Yeah,
fancying me." And he's quite honest. He's like, "Well, maybe. I don't know."
yeah, yeah. Could be some of this. Could be a bit of this. This famous rock star from the US. Yeah, it could be him. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Is there anything that you noticed that you thought that doesn't really stand up now? Like whether it was, I don't know, a bit corny or anything you just think, oh, it was a little bit, it probably wouldn't make it into a modern movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you get halfway through the movie before they meet. I think the kind of the email and letter device where you haven't, two characters haven't met, but they've emailed. I think now, especially
Hmm.
post-COVID, with video
Yeah.
chat sort of being so ubiquitous, like,
Hmm.
I mean, you just chat, don't you? Like, there's no
Yeah.
way that you would be emailing back and forth. You'd just be like, well, when we hop on FaceTime, why don't we get on Zoom? When do we when do we
Yeah.
actually talk?
This is
So
great. Yeah.
yeah,
You're just setting this up. I'm just rethinking this now. I've just been watching a bit of Catfish and I'm like, this is a perfect episode of Catfish where they're like, oh, it's you. Oh my God. And it turns out it's Duncan all the time. Yeah.
pretending to be Tucker Carlson,
Yeah.
which is what he
Yeah,
does
that's
at the
true.
weekend.
Yeah, you're right. You would definitely have used that technology, but obviously you'd lose everything if well, maybe not everything, but having just the emails back and forth adds that little extra sort of dynamic to it, doesn't it? It makes it
Yeah,
that the mystery.
but I think that's it. That's the only thing. So pre COVID one, as we're
Yeah.
calling it, like pre
Yeah.
COVID one. That's the only thing that doesn't stand out. I think it actually stands
Yeah.
up to like the sort of, yeah, post COVID as well, because it is,
Yeah.
yeah, as I say, it is about someone who sort of, yeah, is out of sync and doesn't know whether they want to be where they are. I did think,
Yeah.
in the sort of category of what's one thing you would swap from today. Obviously, it's only like 4 years old.
Yeah.
But I did think you could swap a plot device where he arrives in March 2020 and then has to stay for 2 years because he can't
Yeah.
travel back to the US, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
yeah, he keeps Jackson away from his mother for 2 years, and it
Yeah.
all goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, yeah, but you're right. If you actually added the COVID piece into it, it would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? But yeah, you're right. I guess it's not that old. So there's not really much in there that's necessarily outdated or wouldn't hold up. And I think also, as you said, as we said at the start, that it's not. And I think when if we were really looking at the genres, I wouldn't put this under romantic comedy really, because
No,
it's not really, is it? Like there's. It really doesn't feel like there's much romance at all going on in any of them. It's more about just people's lives and coming to the decisions of as they're getting older and stuff, and and as I said, sort of modern life. I wouldn't say it was really romantic comedy.
Yeah,
Also
yeah.
because Chris O'Dowd is in it, and he's obviously just ruining the film and ruining the romance.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, the CD device, the fact that he gets the CD through the post. She has a
Yeah,
computer that has a CD, which I'm kind of like, yeah,
yeah,
okay, that's a bit strange. I
maybe.
can't remember
Yeah,
when my computer last had a CD drive. But then
no,
he has a mobile CD
yeah,
player, mobile
a
CD
Discman,
player,
yeah,
a Discman.
Discman, yeah. Look
Yeah,
at you
well,
trying to
because
pretend like you're young.
it's been so long since I've
Yeah.
had a
Oh, I don't
Discman,
know what this
like
is. What is this thing you're
20 odd
showing me?
years.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not sure about that. Like it's
yeah.
2019. I'm not sure that someone has still in their house has a Discman.
No,
I'm just,
no.
yeah, I'm not sure. Surely you just send someone the files.
Yeah,
Uh,
you would definitely send them the file, wouldn't you?
yeah, yeah. My daughter
Yeah,
has a CD player that she got when she was just born, so she knows what CDs are, and obviously she sees me with DVDs all the time. But
yeah.
she's not going to know what CDs are
No.
in 20 years time when I force
Yeah.
her to watch this film. So
I mean, you can barely remember yourself what they are, so I imagine she's going to have absolutely zero chance of understanding what these things mean.
I mean,
Like, what?
the CD's dead. The mini disc
Oh my
was
God.
just always felt like the future of the mini disc. Obviously, they only
Yeah,
actually existed for like a year, and then everyone had iPods. But the mini
yeah,
disc were definitely the
yeah.
coolest thing.
That was so good, and they were so much smaller. I never had a Discman in the end. I went from Walkman straight to mini disc,
Yeah,
and I remember getting a mini disc. I was just like, "This is amazing!" You could get so many songs on there from very reputable sites, and not everyone just ripped them from Napster via an AOL or dial-up that took 4 days. Um,
my we second house in London. We got
yeah,
burgled like twice.
oh yeah,
It wasn't a very good house, and they stole my mini disc player, and so then I got rid of
oh,
all of my mini discs, and I really regret that decision. I
oh
should have saved
yeah,
them. I had some great
yeah,
mixes on there, and it was like 50 songs at the time. I mean, obviously iPods just came and blew it out the water, but yeah, there's
yeah,
something about physical media. I'm telling you, this is why I
yeah,
watched this on DVD. I
yeah.
own the DVD rather than just streaming it. There's just something about it. I'm telling you.
It's the nostalgia, and I think that's helping you believe that this should be on your top 100 list. Whereas reality, you should be burning this DVD and getting rid of it, just
Well,
removing it.
talking of DVDs, going to the Amazon reviews
Oh yeah,
for the movie. Some good
yeah.
reviews. First off with the 1 stars. Boring from start to finish. I started skipping through it after the first 5 minutes.
Oh, cool. You found my review.
But I'm not sure how it can be boring from start to finish if you start skipping through it after 5 minutes. That seems
I
like
don't know.
boring from start to 5 minutes, and then I
Yeah,
started skipping.
I don't know, man. I mean, I specifically have written down here 15 minutes in, I'm hating this film. So I'm with this person.
Well,
I'm gonna upvote this review.
well, funnily enough, the next one was slow and boring. Turned it off after 20 minutes, and 3 people found this helpful. I presume
Yeah,
like the 20-minute point.
yeah, yeah. Is that the new sort of benchmark? Like there'll be like I don't know, like you're watching a movie and if it's not good enough for the new, Generation Z, if it's not good enough in 20 minutes, turn it off and never come back to it ever again. You gave it a chance. That's your chance you
would,
get.
would you do that? Do you turn? I mean, outside of doing a podcast on someone else's favorite 100 movies, do you ever turn off a movie and just be like, "This is dumb," or do you watch it all the way through, no matter what?
100%, I would. And if I was watching this, I would definitely have turned it off and not watch the end of it for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
There's
mean, I think it's yeah. You would have turned the channel, but
yeah.
I would be seeking it out. I'd be like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
this is the passport scene's coming on. I'll watch this.
Yeah, well, I
But
mean, it
the
is on
next
your top
one,
list.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
the next one, bizarrely, and I wanted to ask you about this. So
yeah,
it says I was recommended to watch this film. I was
mm.
disappointed, but to be fair, it was an interesting storyline. It's a roller coaster so far as a review. I just object to the unnecessary use of four-letter words, which seem to be obligatory in so many British films. It is so very adolescent. I'm sure intelligent audiences have no need to pay for this kind of language. It's not clever. All we want is to be entertained, to enjoy drama, whether it be light or really serious, and it's certainly not worth paying extra for. So first of all, I
Wow.
don't know why they were paying. I don't know why they were paying extra for the swearing. There's
Yeah.
not like there's
And
not
but
like
yeah.
a dubbed version there. And
I mean,
was there a lot of swearing? Do you remember
I,
there being a lot of swearing?
I don't remember there being a lot of swearing. I also think it's quite funny how like that just reeks of someone who's really old going, oh yeah, adolescence. Like, yeah, I mean, teenagers are renowned for swearing all the time. It's not like they get told off by their parents to stop swearing, is it? I mean, how do they own swear words now? So that doesn't make sense. No, I don't remember. What I did sort of remember, what I didn't note down was a lot of the way they set up the scenes was just people moaning. And I was like, oh, this just reminds me of when I used to live in the UK. It's like, it was, I did find that, like, when he's in hospital, he's just had a heart attack and they're all shouting. I'm like, that wouldn't happen. He's had a heart attack. He would be able to go at him in a bed. But no, I don't really remember any much swearing in it at all, really. No. Do
Because
you?
then we go to a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Great movie for a light, refreshing evening with your loved one. I did not like the fact that the swear words were frequently used, but apart from that, it was nice. I was like,
Yeah.
what's this with the swear
Yeah.
words? I don't remember a lot of swear words at all.
No, I don't. Maybe we're just too desensitized to it now. That's the problem. But no, I
Maybe.
don't. Even you think about the scenes that they put together. I'm trying to think now. Oh, well, are there any scenarios, any scenes where they would be more likely to have some, swearing in it? But I don't remember a lot of it at all. No, definitely these are old people reviewing these. This is what we'll be writing in a few years. Yeah.
And then the last 5-star review. Love this film and has made me such an Ethan Hawke fan. I had not seen him in anything else but ordered the Before trilogy. His expressions and sense of humor are terrific,
What?
a brilliant feel-good movie, blah blah blah. I've since watched Maudie and thought it was very well done, which is a very bizarre one to sort of go back and watch if you're trying to discover
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke. But I thought that I thought first of all, like we're not kind of making fun of people all of the time. Like I think that is one of the great things. Like you sort of see someone in a film like this, you've never
Yeah.
seen Ethan Hawke before. You're like, oh he was quite good. What?
Yeah.
Let me go and discover other films that he's been in. And obviously Ethan Hawke is a great actor and has done so
Yeah.
many great movies. So I do think it's nice that this would sort of be a
Yeah.
gateway into it.
And Ethan Hawke out there.
Yeah, and then Ethan Hawke. I mean, favorite performance inspired by Ethan Hawke. Any that stand out for you?
Oh well, yeah, it's had quite a lot of good ones recently, but I guess Training Day is always like one of
Yeah.
the greatest films. I love Training Day. What is he was in
Where
the?
where do you stand on the Before trilogy? The Before Sunset, after Sunrise.
I don't think I've seen them. I don't think I have.
Ah.
Yeah, but then yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the artwork for this. I don't mind romantic comedies, but I don't think they would be as prevalent in my list as they are in your list. So I'm less likely to look at that and think that looks like a good movie. I'm gonna watch that. Not that I don't watch them, but I don't know. It's funny that actually because when you were talking about him like at the start of the pod, I in my mind I have Ethan Hawke as a serious actor. But when
Mm.
you talked about him, you were like, "Oh yeah," and he used to do all these different romantic comedies, and I was like, "Oh right, that's not really what I would see him as."
I mean, yeah, but point of clarification, like the Before trilogy,
Hmm.
they're romances. They're not romantic comedies at all. Like
Here we go.
there is no comedy in them.
Oh,
Like they
okay.
are sort of romance. So the
Oh wow.
premise in the first one is that he's a teenager backpacking across Europe. He meets Julie Delpy on a train and convinces her to get off. I think in
Yeah.
Vienna to walk around the city, and they just talk for like 80% of the movie.
Oh wow.
And then the next one is like they've lost contact, but he's written a book about it to try and find her again, and
Oh
it's
my
like 10
God.
years on. And then the
Yeah.
next one is 10 years on again. And they kind of meet, just in case you ever want to watch them. I won't spoil it,
Oh
but it's like but it's all they're very famous because
yeah.
it's them walking around the city talking and like talking about life and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
they're not comedies. They are sort of out and out romances. And
Yeah. Wow.
I did think about putting did think about putting them on the list. They are good films, but yeah, they're so dialogue heavy that
Yeah.
yeah, they
You
didn't make the
thought
list.
we need something better. What I'll do is I'll put Juliet Naked on there. This is a much better film. Yeah.
It's I stand by it because yeah, when I watched it, I was leaving my 4-year-old daughter. Maybe that
Oh,
had an impact on me.
here we go. There's that vital bit of information that we get delivered on the 11th hour. I could have watched this on double speed if I'd have known that information. So yeah, okay. So it's that makes way more sense. So yeah, okay then. So coming back to that, when you rewatched it, how did you feel on the rewatch? Did you still think it was good? You still happy that it's on your list? Or yeah, what were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, no, I was still happy that it's on the list by the end. I think
Yeah.
because I'd put it in my mind and probably yours from the beginning of the pod that it was like a romantic comedy and it's one of the few romantic comedies on the list, even though the list is scattered with romantic comedies.
Yeah.
It sort of to begin with, I think the first like half an hour or even the first 45 minutes before they meet is a bad romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And as I say, it then when it twists on that phone call, and when it really struck me
Yeah.
when she asked about Jackson, rather than like, oh my goodness, like sort of
Yeah.
damsel in
Yeah.
distress, let me come and help you. I
Yeah.
was, and then and then there's the scene in the hospital where there is a poor person in the background just in her bed
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
the fight's going on. I was like,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. She's pretending to be asleep because she's like,
Yeah.
oh God, don't drag me
Yeah.
into this.
Yeah. I don't want to know about
Um,
this.
when they're actually together, it becomes much more about the family dynamic. It becomes much more, or even before they meet, like the first time that sort of you see Lizzie and Ethan Hawke interacting, like
Mm.
that stops it from being the romantic comedy because
Yeah.
actually, like that has nothing to do with
Yeah.
Rose Byrne's character, right? It's just about him and the family dynamic,
Yeah.
and she's pregnant and stuff like that. So suddenly I was thinking, oh yeah, this actually isn't. It's not really about the two of them. It is about everything else.
Yeah.
And so I think in yeah, even after 4 years, I think in my head I'd sort of built it up as like, oh, this is a sweet, sort of funny, good romantic comedy. But actually, yeah, it's
Yeah.
in the list because it's not that. It's actually way more about the family dynamic and having
Yeah.
kids and just doing something a bit different there. So
Yeah, which makes more sense, right? I think because it's a
yeah,
Nick Hornby book, this is why I think you're right. Dissecting the film to think about it in that way makes so much more sense as a Nick Hornby book because he doesn't really do, your straightforward sort of rom-coms. And I think that's why I was thinking when we were talking about it at the start, I was like, oh, this seems a bit strange because yeah, it's rom-com, but it's Nick Hornby. So I was like, oh, well, actually, maybe this might be quite good because he all had a different angle to it. But sadly, not enough of an angle to make it interesting. But yeah, no, I think that's probably it, right? I think he does deliver those differences that other people wouldn't necessarily get. Like he has that extra dynamic in his books that's you think it's a rom-com, but actually it's about something completely different, and I'm taking you down a different journey.
yeah, and that sort of bears out with the other films on Letterboxd that they sort of say are similar films. You've got High Fidelity, About Time, and
Yeah,
500 Days of Summer, which I would
yeah,
always sort of say are like nominally romantic comedies, but like 500 Days of Summer, especially, like yeah,
yeah.
it's not a romantic
No,
comedy in the usual way. And then
yeah,
like the others are The Holiday, Music and Lyrics, and Man Up. So you can kind of see like the first three are like, yeah, we sort of say that we're romantic comedy, but actually we're not. We're about something else.
yeah,
And then obviously the other ones are just romantic comedies. So I think I can
yeah,
see why there would be a lot of 1-star reviews and a lot of 5-star reviews because it is kind of what you kind of go in expecting to
yeah,
see, and it's not a very good romantic comedy
yeah.
uh, because there is very
Because
little
it's got
romance between them. But
yeah, and I
there
think
is like an underlying like truth, I think, to it about like the complexities
yeah,
of like life and how they actually get in the way of what a
yeah,
romantic comedy would be. Right, that
yeah,
romantic comedy isn't true to life there because there's all this
yeah,
other stuff like the fact that he's like, oh well, we're just let's try it, let's do long distance. She's like, no. It's just
Yeah,
going to be too
yeah,
complicated. I don't want to do that.
yeah,
Like, and she's just not even entertaining it, which kind of, with the romantic comedy bit, it would be like, yeah, we can make this work. And then, like,
yeah.
you get Hugh Grant at a premiere of a movie with Julia Roberts, say.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the point. When he has the grandkid, he's holding the grandkid in his arms. You're right. That would be the point where it would be Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant hand the baby back to his daughter. The music would start, and he would start running over to her, saying, "No, you should stay here. I'll buy this road, and we'll all live together. It's going to be amazing." And
Yeah.
you're right. The reality is that she just starts walking away because she's like, "You've got stuff you need to sort out. You don't need me in the way." And he's sort of like, "I want you here," but yeah, like you said, he's also trying to be a better dad than how he has been. It's almost like I wonder if like the Nick Hornby scenarios would be better on streaming now. Because I'm thinking it's making me now think of like Ted Lasso, right? So if you said to people who wants to go and watch a film about a Premiership football manager, loads of people would be like, well, I'm not watching that. Yet loads of people, a lot of people that don't like football do watch Ted Lasso because it's not really about the football.
I think maybe with Nick Hornby as a whole, I don't know. Did you? Well, we can maybe save it, but
Yeah.
have you seen the High Fidelity TV series that they made from the book?
Well, I'm going to have to save that for the High Fidelity podcast, aren't I? I'm not
I
giving
mean,
you any little spoilers. Yeah. Have
I
to
mean,
wait and see, Andy.
it's not for a while, but we'll that
Well,
will tease the
yeah,
audience,
yeah,
and they'll
yeah.
definitely keep listening to that one now.
I mean, I'll
Not
mention it every single pod so that everyone remembers it's coming. Yeah.
no matter what the movie. Right. Well, I
Yeah.
I feel good that number 100 was one you hadn't seen, but
That
you
was good.
liked.
Yeah.
99 was one you hadn't seen, but you didn't like, and now we're going to 98, which is one you
Oh,
have seen,
and love.
thankfully.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so we'll end it there, and we'll go on to the next.
Yeah. It sounds good, mate.